my boyfriend cheated on me with my best friend. So my boyfriend and I have been dating for 2 years, but we were on and off all the time. It was a super toxic relationship. Like, he would try to get with other girls and I would try to get with other guys to make him jealous, blah, blah, blah. Well, a week before Christmas, him and I broke up again. And I had my best friend sleep over that whole week because her parents were in Ireland. And my boyfriend lived right down the street from me. Like, it was probably a 2-minute walk to his house. Well, for the first 3 nights, my best friend would go on a jog every night, and she would be gone for like 2 hours. I would literally have to go unlock the door at 1 in the morning for her to get back in my house. Well, I think the 3rd night that she slept over, she came back in different clothes. And I realized that the sweatshirt she was wearing was my boyfriend's favorite sweatshirt. But I didn't really think anything of it because she never really showed interest in my boyfriend. But clearly I was oblivious. Anyways. So that same night, I wake up in the middle of the night and she's on the phone with someone. And it sounded exactly like my boyfriend. So I asked her who it was, but she couldn't give me an answer, like for part 2. Part 2 of how my boyfriend cheated on me with my best friend. So she told me not to worry about it, and I was like, alright, whatever. So the next day, my boyfriend shows up at my house asking to get back together. Not a surprise, by the way. And of course I said, okay, we can be back together, blah, blah, blah. So that night while I'm in my room, my best friend's on the phone, and she has her AirPods in, so I couldn't hear who it was. And she was like, okay, I'll be there in 5 minutes. And when I asked her where she was going, she wouldn't tell me. Well, she left her phone at my house. And because she usually tells me everything, I thought that something sus was going on. So I went through her phone. And I see that she's been texting this guy Jay a lot. And as I'm going through their conversation, there's one text that says, I don't care if she finds out. Just sneak over to my house while you're there. So I check the phone numbers and obviously it's my boyfriend. And her parents are really strict, like she was only supposed to be at my house that week, nowhere else. So I may have made up some stories that she had drugs in her bag and that she was forcing me to do drugs with her. So her parents came home early from their trip, they sent her to military school and I broke up with my boyfriend.
What's up, Shay? What's up, Lynn? I hit it raw, she see me in public like, what's up, friend? She talk too much, but I still hit, cause she a fool on that.
Extremely toxic best friend story time. So when I was in 8th grade, there was this boy. And this boy would go around telling almost every girl that he liked her. And I was one of those girls. And he would do stuff with all of us. And there were like 11 of us. So we all hated each other. Especially this one girl, and we're gonna call her Abby. And every time we saw each other, we would be super mean to each other. Well, a year passed, we stopped talking to this kid, and I bumped into her at homecoming and basically apologized. So after that, we became best friends. And everything was good until every time I told her about a guy, she would start talking to them. Like this one boy that I was Snapchatting and talking to, she accidentally sent nudes to him and said, oh, sorry, I meant to send them to my boyfriend. So then she called one of my other best friends and said, no, it actually wasn't an accident. And of course he told me because he was my best friend. So I was like, whatever, and stopped talking to the boy. And she did it again, like for part 2. Extremely toxic best friend part 2. So pretty much her excuse for that was, oh, well, he said that he was gonna leak my nudes if I didn't send him them again. Which was a lie because literally half the school already had her nudes. So then I started talking to this other boy. And he lived like right down the street from her. So she was like, if you want to go to his house, you can. And I was like, are you sure? And she said, yeah, just go tell my mom. And I was like, oh, okay. So I went and told her mom where I was going and went over his house. So I walked back to her house and she literally locked me out. Like her mom had to come open the door for me to let me in. And she was like, oh, it's a good thing you came back when you did. Because I was going to drive you home now and tell your dad everything that you did. And she goes, I don't think you guys should be together because you're unexperienced. And she would always tell me how he flirts with her all the time. So after our friendship ended, she goes, I just felt like it was always a competition between me and you.
But with a little help from my friends, I found a light in the tunnel at the end.
get that paper. Shorty tongue rip like razor. Shorty got wick, got flavor. Part of my tits and makeup. Pay her.
Story time. My parents found out that I was dating a white boy. So a little background information. My parents are super strict, especially my dad. And on top of that, my dad thought that races should not mix. One of his sayings was, "You don't see a blue jay fucking a pigeon." AKA, white people and black people should not be together. Sounds fucking stupid. Yeah, I know. Anyways, like I was saying, it was my freshman year of high school and I had been dating this boy for 2 months. And of course he was white. And we had to keep it super low-key because if any of my friends found out about it, they would have fucking told my dad. Now when I look back at it, those weren't good friends at all. Anyways, every Friday, my boyfriend and I would go to the movies. And we would go to this theater that was 45 minutes away because nobody that I knew would be there. The only person that knew that I was dating a white boy was my sister. Well, the one day after the movies, I couldn't get a ride home, so I had to get a ride home with him and his family. And as soon as I pulled up, my parents were waiting outside, like for part 2. Part 2 about how my parents found out that I was dating a white boy. So like I said, my sister couldn't come pick me up, so I had to get a ride with him and his family. And what do you know, as soon as we pull up to my fucking house, my dad is standing on the porch waiting for me. So I told his parents to drive around the block one more time while I called my sister and told her to distract my dad. So as we're driving up to my house again, I see that my dad isn't on the porch. So I run into the house before he could see me getting out of a white boy's car. So a few months go by and we're still dating, very low key. And the one night at 3 in the morning, I get woken up by my sister. And she says, "You better delete any pictures that you have of you and you know who off your phone. And you better come up with the story right now. Because one of your friends took pictures of you walking with him in the hallways and kissing him behind the stairwell at school." So after I deleted everything off my phone, a few seconds later, my dad came into my room screaming his head off. He was so mad. I ended up getting my ass beat, and I also got grounded from my phone for 4 months. But after that, my mom ended up leaving my dad, and then him and I got back together.
I would take a bullet for you just to prove my love. Only to find out you are the one holding the gun. I'm just trying to get focused, take some time for me. People started to notice all the shit you couldn't see. You picked the over.
I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. I said, ooh.
Storytime, my boyfriend caught me cheating on him with his older brother. A little background information. I was a sophomore in high school and him and I had been dating for about 3 months. And every day after school I would go over to his house. Sometimes he would be late coming home though because he would have soccer practice. But I would go to his house anyways because I was friends with his sister, who was also in the same grade as me. Well, his older brother was a senior in high school. Well, the one day I went over his house and his sister wasn't home. She was tutoring at school or something. And neither were his parents. So I texted my boyfriend saying that I was just gonna go home. And he said, "No, stay, I'll be there in like 30 minutes. While I was sitting on the couch, his brother comes downstairs. So he comes and sits on the couch next to me and puts on a movie. And he could have sat anywhere because they had a big ass couch, but he sat right next to me. So we start talking, and a little bit into the movie, he gets closer to me. And one thing led to another, and then we were in his room. And literally 2 minutes later, we heard the front door open. Like for part 2. Part 2 about how my boyfriend caught me cheating on him with his older brother. So we heard the door open downstairs, and at this point we were both naked. So I ran to my boyfriend's room as fast as I could, and as soon as he came upstairs, he saw me without any clothes on. So then I had to play it off like I was ready to do the nasty with him. So for the next 2 weeks straight, I was going to my boyfriend's house and doing the nasty with his brother while he was at soccer practice. Well, the one day after his brother and I did the nasty, I fell asleep in his brother's bed. So my boyfriend came upstairs, and he didn't see me anywhere, so he was knocking on his brother's door. And we didn't hear anything because we were sleeping, so he just opened the door. And I woke up and he was screaming at both of us. So him and his brother got into a fight, like literally fist fighting. I was trying to break it up, but then I was also trying to put clothes on. And when my boyfriend saw me trying to get dressed, he took my clothes and told me to get out. And when I wouldn't get out because I didn't have clothes, so he literally grabbed me and threw me outside. And then he came back and threw a towel at me, so I had to walk home with only a towel on. Party story time! Okay, so I went to a party and I showed up there super early because I'm literally that person. Anyways, I was talking to the guy throwing the party and I'm like, yeah, I'm not feeling it. I don't really want to drink. Yes, I'm literally the lamest person alive. Anyways, he's like, okay, do you want a bottle of vodka? Boy, I just told you I didn't want to drink. And he's like, no, like an empty one you can fill up with water and pretend you're drinking. And I'm like, you're a genius. So I do just that, and I walk around the party drinking out of this bottle of vodka that actually has water in it. People literally thought it was legendary. They thought I was getting so drunk. So basically at this point I was lying to everybody at the party. So anyways, I get thirsty, so I step outside and start chugging this bottle of vodka that's actually water. And I look to my left, and there's this girl literally staring at me.
La vaca, mu, la vaca, mu, la vaca, mu, la misma vaca, mu, la vaca, mu, la vaca, mu, la vaca, mu, la misma vaca. Tengo una vaca lechera, una vaca de verdad. Tengo.
And why do you build me up? Buttercup baby, just to let me down and mess me around, and then worst of all, you never call baby when you say you will.
I just wanna be the one you love. Lost all ambition, running a plane. I just wanna be the one you love. That boy sus. Get the fuck, that's a must. I don't trust. Okay. In Tokyo, I'm with my shoes is the.
Oh, it's so cold, I think I'm done with ice. Birds, if I leave her, she gon' die. Well, bitch, you done with life. Okay, better not pull up with no knife, cause I bring guns to fight. Say you got that sack, I got that sack, but ain't no ones of mine. Nope. My little bitch say I'm getting too booed. I don't even like dubs of mine. Alright, but I look like what I.
Between teeth. Now bring my boys in. Their skin in craters like the moon. The moon we love like a brother while he glows through the room. Dancing around the lies we tell. Dancing around big eyes as well. Even the comatose, they don't dance and tell. We live in cities you'll never see on screen. Not very pretty, but we sure know how to run free.
Cause that bitch go pew when I shoot, it's on me. That bitch go pew when I shoot, it's on me. That bitch go pew when I shoot, it's on me. Copycat nigga tryna copy me.
Seem to change. The more they stay the same.